Welcome to Left On Wed.
Bite-sized tips for people getting hitched. Georgia Fletcher.
Adam Sini.
In the same room.
How did we get here?
In this part of town.
Hi, Adam.
Hi, Georgia Fletcher. How are you?
Very good. But hey, you were telling me a story.
No,
Once upon a
wasn't.
time, you weren't going to be Adam.
I was going to be Jed if my mum had her way. That's my backup
and
name.
where's Jed
What's
gone?
yours?
Oh, I was going to be Kate, but my parents squeezed that in as a middle name. But Jed, gone.
If I was a girl, I would have been Emily.
Oh, if I was a boy, I would have been William. Look at where we're going now with this. Whole episode on names.
Yeah, naming your child. But
Not
you,
today.
me, what do we do?
We are celebrants.
And we're going to impart some knowledge unto thee, the person getting married, the listener, you. Hello.
Hello out there.
So what's today's topic that we're
Choosing a date.
Ooh.
We've just got a sparkly ring on our finger. Maybe we don't. We've just got a commitment. We've got an impending wedding on the cards in the future, on the horizon. We've got a few venues, but we've locked one in. We had some favourites. And now we need a date.
We've talked about choosing your venue, choosing your vendor.
There's a whole episode on those.
It's all done. And now it's like, how do we actually nail down that date? How do we think about when we want to get married?
Here's an idea.
Please.
Think about a great time of year to get married at that venue. Seasonal. Weather. Do we like those? Is it too hot, too cold? Is there a date that's sentimental? You've got
Yeah.
a story about that.
I had a couple the other day I had a meeting with, and they didn't realize they're getting married at the place that they had their first date. And they didn't realize that they actually had booked in on that 5-year anniversary just by chance. And people that's something people die for. People love to get married on an anniversary, which is really special, on a date that's really special to them. It's also easy if you get married on your anniversary because then you only have one date to remember.
Yes. Very handy.
So yeah, that's something, obviously, numbers, symmetrical numbers. You got married on a weird number.
16-1-16.
That's something people think about as well. It's also we're thinking about, if you are looking at those symmetrical numbers or interesting dates, is that other people might have thought about the same thing, and you actually might have slim pickings with venue and vendors.
There's a few symmetrical dates coming up in 2024.
Yeah, so it's something to think about. It's like, oh, you might not have been the only person to think about that. And if it doesn't matter to you, it might be good to consider another date. What I've had a lot of recently, Georgia Fletcher, is that's you in French.
I love that.
You look French.
So cultural. Thank you.
What I've had recently is a lot of reverse booking. So that's where you might go to the venue that you really love and you say, we're getting married at this time of year. Can you give us some dates that you have available? You don't book it in yet because then you have your favorite vendors that you might like, your celebrant.
Because it's just a party without them.
Exactly. Thank you. You might have your photographer. You might have a great band or something that you really love. And to ensure that you actually get them, because what happens a lot we see is people book in a date and then they come to us and we're not available. You get those dates and you give it to them and you say, what are you available on before booking it in? Because I love you and I want you to be part of my day. Great. You get that nice list. This is what matches up. Then you go back to your venue and you say, great, May 18 is our date because it matches up with all the people that we want on our date.
Yes, correct. I love that thought process. So we have our favourites lined up. We have the venue, the time of year that we love. But then it could also be a matter of just availability. So the venue could just give you a list of dates within the time of year. May and August are becoming a very popular time of year to get married in.
Yeah.
Not too hot, not too cold, but hey, we're in a climate crisis, so it could be any time of year.
Let's not talk about the climate crisis.
No, we could do a whole episode on that.
We're going to do a whole podcast series on the climate crisis. We're all
But we won't.
We won't, because that's not what we know.
That's not the vibe. So the venue could give you just a whole list of dates, and one of those dates may not be a Saturday. It could be a Wednesday.
Yeah.
Do we love that?
Yeah, I mean, if it works for you as well. Saturdays, obviously, if you look at in the next year, a lot of your venues and vendors are already going to be booked on those prime Saturdays in peak season.
A frequently asked question is it going to be cheaper if you get married on another day of the week? Now, that really depends on the venue. Could be worth asking, but it's the same amount of work, the same amount of prep, the same amount of staff they've got to pay and organise and all of that kind of thing. So that's not always a guarantee.
It's not a guarantee, but it is potential. I do hear that. I know that some venues do charge a slightly cheaper rate. It might not be worth it for you, but they do charge a slightly cheaper rate for a weekday versus weekend. They also, some may do cheaper rates in winter,
When
in
it's
off-season.
colder, correct.
So if you don't mind getting married in the winter, then you also might like that.
A winter wedding has a nice ring to
A
it.
lot of people, let's be honest, where we live in Sydney, but in Australia, the weather's not that bad. Winter isn't that bad. And we're talking people wearing suits and they might be rugged up. Like, being in a suit on a lovely 18-degree day is primo, quite frankly.
It's
I've got
quite
nothing wrong with a
nice.
winter wedding.
Quite nice. And I still think we are coming off the backlog of the pandemic availability too,
Yeah.
and people having booked so far in advance or coming to the realization that once they get engaged, we may need at least 12 to 18 months ahead to
Definitely.
be thinking about ballpark dates, venues, favorite vendors.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely something to consider if you're thinking of within that 12-month range. Definitely look at the reverse booking, getting in touch with your vendors first to make sure that they have that available, and maybe consider a day of the week that's not a Saturday. Fridays are still busy. I'm seeing a lot of Thursdays pop up at the moment as well,
Yes,
which I think
correct.
is just tying it into
I've
the
said
weekend.
correct 3 times now. I need to think of another word.
Affirmative, positive, yes, thumbs up. Not good for podcasts, but I can translate for you and say correct. She said correct through her thumb. So you're doing a good job.
Amazing. So there's so many different ways that you can choose a date. And I love that you've shared some hot tips and tricks there. So we're thinking seasonal, we're thinking weather, availability, we are thinking sentimental dates. It could be your parents' wedding anniversary or maybe the date that you got engaged, like that lovely story, without even realizing. But you may need to think about it with some intention if you want to.
Yeah. And
What else are we thinking about when it comes to choosing a date?
Well, time of year is obvious. If you're looking at summer, you're going to have longer days. Daylight savings does come into
Yes.
account there. So you might be having a later ceremony because of that, because of the heat. And versus winter, you have shorter days, sun setting at 5. We're going to be having earlier ceremonies, more like 2 o'clock because of that.
We're going to do a whole episode on run sheets.
Oh my God, it's coming up. It's coming up real soon.
So soon I can smell it.
What does the microphone smell like?
Technical.
Armpit. Oh, it smells like technical.
Electricity.
Smells like electricity, love, and sparks.
Ooh, nice. We'll do a whole episode on sparkler exits.
Oh my God, won't we ever? So that's how you pick your wedding date.
So many different options, but definitely do that reverse booking system, getting a little copy and paste happening, choosing your favorites early, finding the venue, finding those vendors, and finding a date.
And the time of year you like. Are you summer people? Are you winter people? Are you spring people? But remember, everybody is spring people. So just consider your time frames as well when you're booking it in. Don't go willy-nilly and just book in a date without thinking about who's coming, where your vendors are from, where your guests are coming from, et cetera, et cetera. Booking in with school holidays might be something that
Oh, the teachers love to think about that.
teachers love it. I do a lot of teachers getting married. School holidays, every day of the week. A teacher is getting married.
I also
Does a
got
bear
married
shit in the
school
woods?
holidays.
Did you? Of course he did.
16/1/16, peak of January. Wanted to give myself enough time to do some planning, enjoy the holidays, and then get married. So teacher thinking, teacher math.
Book your date in, homies. Hey, Georgia.
Hey,
I
Adam.
loved talking to you
It
today.
was so good.
It moistened my mouth. So I'll see you next time. Will you come back
Not
after
with
that?
language like that.
Please.
Mm.
I'll give you 10
I'll go
bucks.
find Jed. Where's he gone?
Jed!
Jed, are you out there?
Love you. See you next
Married
week.
by Jed. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening.
We really appreciate you. And if you want to hear and see more, follow us on the socials. We are at Left on Wed Podcast on TikTok, on YouTube. There are full video episodes, and on Instagram.
There sure are. If you've got questions, you've got comments, ideas for topics,
Yeah.
slide on into the DMs. But you can also inquire about our celebrant services by finding Adam on Instagram and TikTok at Married by Adam.
That's me.
You can find me at Georgia Fletcher Celebrant.
And if you are itching to tell people about this, please do. But you can leave us a review on whatever platform you listen on. Tell people how much you love it. 5 stars only.
Thank you. That's all we will accept. We'll see you next time.
Left on Wed is recorded on the lands of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. We pay respects to the elders past and present.
We, Adam and Georgia, acknowledge our First Nations people's continuous connection to culture and the importance of storytelling.